back. Let's check steel stocks this morning after U.S. steel stocks soared yesterday after manufacturers said they are preparing for President Trump's increased steel and aluminum tariffs. They go to 50% beginning tomorrow. The president signaling he will clear the $14 billion merger between U.S. Steel and Japan's Nippon Steel, saying this will not include layoffs and that the steelmaker will be, quote, controlled by the USA. No final deal has been reviewed or approved just yet. Joining me now is Zekelman Industries Chairman and CEO Barry Zekelman. Barry, good to see you. Your company is a leader in the steel industry and the global trading, especially between Canada and the U.S. Give us your sense of the 50% steel tariffs that will take effect tomorrow. What's the impact?
Yeah, first off, I want to thank the administration for their continued focus on this issue. I mean, the impact will be broad. There's no question it's going to have a dynamic and an immediate impact in the U.S. on a lot of the steel products that come in. I think the upping the duties was the right thing to do. In some cases, it's at the right level. In other cases, it's still probably not enough. I think it'll have a dramatic effect on Canada, and it's going to force Canada to take a stand like the U.S. is taking. And Canada needs to push the imports that come into Canada out to create a robust Canadian market where Canadian steel can be consumed in Canada and pushed out, just like the U.S. is trying to do. That'll balance the trade between the U.S. and Canada, and then hopefully we can get to a resolution between the two countries where we need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Canada because it remains the top steel exporter into America, sending more than $7 billion worth of steel into the U.S. last year. We've got a chart here that shows Mexico, Brazil, and South Korea round out the top four, all hovering at around $3 billion in annual steel exports. Germany, Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam also on that list. As far as aluminum exports, Canada is number one again by an incomparable margin, sending more than $9 billion worth of aluminum into the U.S. But when you look at the groups and the countries that are leading the import and the export, rather, of steel into the U.S., how does this global trade relationship and supply chains change things now with the 50% steel?
Well, in Canada's perspective, of course, Canada is being invaded by steel from other countries. And like I said, that needs to get pushed out. In cases like Mexico, Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, all of those others, the problem there is they're being used as a proxy by China. So, Taiwan and Vietnam have increased imports of steel from China dramatically and then transship it into the U.S. or make it into various products and then ship it into the U.S. at the expense of U.S. consumers of steel. So in Canada's case, we're under the same type of attack as the U.S. In the other countries' cases, they're being used as a proxy for China. And we need to balance this out. We need to push that back. The biggest thing that we contend with. Sorry, Maria, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What's the biggest thing we have to contend with?
Yeah, the biggest thing that we contend with is we don't have a long-term trade policy. So it's hard for us and consumers of steel and producers of steel to make long-term investments. We want to know if we're investing 100, 200, 300 million, $1 billion, that we're going to have years and decades for that to run prosperously and pay off. So we have to have a long-term strategy. We have to have a comprehensive strategy that closes all the loopholes, all the back doors, like these transshipping countries, like the derivative products. And then we're going to have a robust steel industry here with robust consumers and tremendous employment, tremendous job opportunities, tremendous income, and we will secure our nation's future. I mean, the problem today is, people say, well, prices are going up. Why are drug prices so high in the U.S.? Drug prices are high in the U.S. because we don't produce any of it here. That's the problem. So we don't have that option to be efficient here. We don't have that option to negotiate against countries who ship those drugs in here because we don't produce it here. Can you imagine if we didn't have a steel industry? Or we didn't have steel consumers? If you think the price of steel would be cheap in the U.S. because we'd be able to import, it would be the other way. Yeah. The other way would be they have us hostage. We can't do that. It's a national security issue. We have to take this tough stand.
Are you expecting retaliation from Canada? What is Canada going to do in the face of this, since it's the lead exporter into the U.S.?
Yeah, so I'm actually in Ottawa on Thursday. We'll be talking about this issue. As you know, I'm a Canadian consumer of steel, and I'm up against these tariffs coming into the U.S., although I have much more production in the U.S. I think Canada's stance should be, Canada should push out the illegally dumped and foreign steel that makes its way into Canada. It will create a robust market in Canada, which will then take the pressure off Canadian steel that goes into the US, and that trade will balance. And I think the US will have to look at that and say, look, the US ships $5 billion of steel into Canada every year, but Canada ships 7 to the US. I think that needs to be balanced. And I think it's balanced. And that the US can look at Canada and realize and be certain that the back door to Canada is closed and that foreign steel won't transfer its way into Canada and into the US. I think the relationship between Canada and the U.S. will definitely be a much better relationship. I think the temperature will come down, and I think we can create a really fortress North America. And I think that's what the president and the administration wants. They want fortress North America to push out all all the bad actors, and Canada can be a
that
good part of
includes
that.
China. I mean, China is sending all sorts of imports through all different countries, and likely Canada as well. Right? What are your thoughts before you,
Absolutely.
Before you go, Barry, what are your thoughts on this Nippon-U.S. steel deal?
Yeah, I can't see behind the scenes in terms of the CFIUS issues and national security. What I can say, and you've heard me say before, I think that if we have a robust trade policy, certainly the steel industry will do well. Look, we welcome investments. I welcome new capacity. I welcome new efficient capacity. And if the investments that Nippon wants to make in U.S. steel are going to truly bring that, it only can be good for a consumer like me. It will give us access to more steel, more cleanly produced steel, more high quality steel, more geographically centered steel around our plants, so it's easily accessible. So if we truly push out imports, we're still a net importer of steel. If we can push them out and add capacity here, God bless. I think it's great, and I wish them all the success. And obviously, the administration feels it can work. So I'm going to support it. I'm a strong supporter of President Trump and his policies regarding steel.
All right, Barry. Great to see you this morning.
Actually.
Thank you so much, Barry Zekelman, joining us.
Thank you, Maria.